2020R scraper tractor and scraper.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
Good
Almost
evening,
had the
Council.
wrong guy there.
We will not be using this with the fire department.
Yeah.
This is a replacement of our 2000 model Challenger and scraper that we currently have at the landfill. The Challenger is already over 13,000 hours on it. It's pretty much exceeded its lifespan, so we are going to change from a track mode vehicle to a wheel-operated vehicle. It's less maintenance, little rougher ride, little wider footprint, but about $40,000 cheaper.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Tony, I meant to ask you before on there, there's something on there, there's a 5-year warranty that's no cost at all?
If we choose to have a 5-year warranty, we pay for that. We did get a 5-year warranty on our track machine. This one, I do not believe we got the 5-year warranty. We did not opt into that.
Okay. Yeah, it looked like on that contract,
I'll have to double check that. Is it-
I agree with Mark. It looks like it's there.
yeah, it looks like it's there and it's zero cost.
Nice.
That's a good deal.
The guys at Herb hooked us up with that, obviously at a cost for our track loader, and it's working out pretty good. And they're even doing a maintenance and a service contract for us also. But this is probably just the warranty.
60 month, 5,000 hours. 60 months, 5,000 hours.
Oh, yeah?
We accept the extended warranty.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would just add, our last survey for the landfill had us operating to approximately 2027. We are looking to get that extended with our contracted hauling, with the improvements that we've had with recycling. I'm sure all you've aware, all the boxes and that you may see in the blue totes, that's all stuff that would have ended up in our landfill that is not going there today. So the goal here is to extend that thing as far out as to 2030, which was our lease agreement for the landfill. So this piece of equipment, I think the last one was purchased in 2000, correct? So we got 20 years. We're looking to get 10 years out of this one. And that's another reason why we went to the tractor style, because we thought that there'd be higher resale. Tony hit on that a little bit, but just give you some feeling. We're not looking to, the landfill is going to be operating here for, 7 to 10 years.
Yep. All right.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a sales contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Herb Equipment, Cuba, Missouri for the purchase of a John Deere 9520R scraper tractor and scraper. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia? Yes. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit? Aye. Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Hillentrop.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Backdraft Ops doing business as emergency reporting for Fire Department records management.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
This is a contract to replace our Firehouse software package we've been using for approximately 25 years. That software platform is going out of business. The first year, we'll have a little higher under our contracted services, but thereafter, there's setup fees initially and data transfer that we're paying for. After that, there is a flat fee year after year, and this is a budgeted item. It's changing the contract is why it's at council.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Backdraft Ops doing business as emergency reporting for Fire Department records management. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia? Yes. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit? Aye. Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Hillentrop.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Lexipol for public safety policy training for the Fire Department.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is a replacement of our existing Target Solutions. We've terminated that contract in July. We'd use that funding out of our training budget to replace this for policy procedures to look at limiting liability and caution or making the city less liable for our activities with policies and procedures. as well as a training piece that's tied into this as well.
Okay, any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Lexipol for public safety policy training for the fire department. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia? Yes. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrop?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
An ordinance establishing the salary for the city administrator for the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. So this year, we did not do merit increases upon reflecting on the budget for this past year and our income, and so we did not do merit increases, but everyone did receive a 1% cost of living increase. So this ordinance in the, on your agenda is for Darren's 1% increase for the cost of living. If you remember, we used to do a number of ordinances, a number of salaries by ordinance, but today the only one that we do is the city administrator ordinance. So it's the same as what everyone else has received and the 1% for the cost of living. Any questions or comments?
An ordinance establishing the salary for the city administrator of the City of Washington, Missouri. Wessels?
Gladly, I say aye.
Scornia? Yes. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Holtmeyer? Aye. Sullentrop?
I guess.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a sales contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Seiler Instrument for the purchase of GPS survey equipment.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
Okay, we discussed this at the previous meeting. This is to replace 2008 GPS survey equipment. We use this, the engineering department uses this pretty frequently, upwards of 3 times a week. We do use it at the landfill. It does allow us to do quite a bit of in-house design work. We do not have licensed surveyors. However, the task of gathering data using this GPS software, we do have that skill between Andrea, Charles, and myself. So this is that tool that we use for those type of items. Is budgeted and is under budget, so we're just asking for your approval.
Okay, any questions or comments? It is nice to be able to do all that in-house.
It is. It actually keeps things moving pretty quick.
Yeah,
So,
you don't have to wait on
no.
anybody.
right. For example, if there was a contractor or something that we didn't believe maybe on an as-built, let's just say a subdivision contractor put some pipe in the ground or something, we didn't believe the as-built, we could actually run out there and shoot that elevation without having to hire out or rent a piece of equipment. It keeps things moving really fast.
Yeah, that's good. All right, thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a sales contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Seiler Instrument for the purchase of GPS survey equipment. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia? Yes. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrop?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a sales contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and S&R Underground LLC, Missouri for boring services.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Again, this was discussed by Kevin at the last meeting. This is to get the water line underneath Highway 100. If you recall, there was we believe there was a sleeve underneath Highway 100, a 30-inch sleeve that showed up on multiple plans. That does not exist. We did do everything we could to try to find it, including using ground penetrating radar, but that sleeve does not exist underneath Highway 100. So in order for us to meet our requirements to get water to Meadow Lake and serve, areas south of 100, this bore is necessary. It will be a 20-inch sleeve with a 12-inch water line, which will be extended to the south from the Clay Street Water Tower.
John, I know that this is to, for the immediate service to Meadow Lake, but will this take care of anything else south of the highway?
Yeah, there was a water study done a few decades ago. There's actually a pump station up by Clay Street for pressures and such, that to serve that entire bowl, I guess, between Pottery Road and kind of all the way up to Highway 8, really. So this would be able to service that entire area, and it does provide additional water services to the south side. There's some valving things that have to be done on the pressure side versus the gravity side, but yeah, it would be sized large enough. That's why we're going with a 12-inch. An 8-inch bore would have been a lot cheaper, but
Will it bring Meadow Lake up to code with their fire hydrant?
yes, it will. And like Kevin said, the plan was to actually jump into the Camp Schrader farm and then kind of run up into Meadow Lake, middle of the subdivision. That is still the plan. However, the water district, if you recall, 2008-9, they actually upsized water lines along Pottery to the north, so towards city limits. That 8-inch water line actually stops by the cemetery, by Holt Gravy Road. So we had some preliminary meetings with the water district to see if there was any value in us kind of taking over their pipe system right there. So we don't have to put in almost 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet of water line parallel to their line, which is a little bit of it's kind of redundant to do that. So we're working with them. They seem kind of open to that. A lot of things got to work out. So that's one thing that I'm working on as a cost-saving measure while this bore's getting done. Regardless, the bore has to get done to get across just to serve that side.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a sales contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and S&R Underground LLC, Missouri for boring services. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrop.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Van Deventer Engineering, St. Louis, Missouri.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
Again, Kevin gave you details on this. This is the Walnut Street lift station, pumps, it's kind of reached its service life as far as the pumps. So rebuilding those pumps just to make sure we can get additional years out of them. That lift station does serve really the largest block of town. All downtown, there's a gravity line that actually goes to that lift station. So this is a very important piece of infrastructure for town.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Van Deventer Engineering, St. Louis, Missouri. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrop.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the 2021 budget of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
Again,
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, this is to cover the cost of the installation of that water main that John was talking about, to Meadow Lake Farms, Kevin reported earlier, and the increase that we need for the Walnut Street lift station and the replacement down at Emmy Frike lift station. So we need to amend the budget.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance amending the 2021 budget of the City of Washington, Missouri. Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia? Yes. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrop.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
A resolution declaring the necessity of changing the name of Circle Drive to Aquatic Circle Drive in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Okay, this is a resolution, so Darren, you want to explain?
Yeah,
this?
basically, since basically what's going on with the new pool, the pool building, the new building that's part of the plans would be the only building that we are aware of that would have an address off of this new name. This went before the Park Board for a recommendation on possibly renaming Circle Drive. As you'll remember, Circle Drive was in reference to the circle that used to go around the park, used to go around the ball diamond out there years and years ago, and that was the reason for the circle. We haven't had a circle out there in quite a while, actually. So, with that being closed off. So with the new pool, it was recommended by the Parks Board to go ahead and come up with a new name for Circle Drive. They came up with Aquatic Circle Drive. And so in order to go ahead and change the name of the street, you've got to pass a resolution, post it in the paper for 4 weeks, and then bring it back to the city council. So I think that other than maybe is it the pump station or whatever that's up there off of the alley?
Yep.
That's also technically addressed, I guess, off of Circle Drive, but there are no residents that have an address off of that. So should not affect anything other than city properties and putting a new name up there later on.
Any questions?
What, the wording, the necessity, I'm not sure I understand.
Well, it's if the city would, for example, if we had a street in town that you wanted to go ahead and have, you had several residents, et cetera, that were there and would have to be readdressed, you're doing it out of a necessity. I think that's the language that's in there from the statute, so that you can go ahead and do emergency response, for example, if they needed, addressing was out of whack, or there was a name that they were getting confused with another part of town, that's where you come up. That language is all taken out of that statute.
Do you know where State Street stops and Circle Drive starts?
I could take a stab at it.
I'll have a different opinion than Darren, I guarantee it.
I don't know. I
Just
would say
curious- I'm just
probably over there
curious.
where we had what I always joke about, our one and only roundabout over there, but probably over there somewhere. That would be where it ends. I
Just
don't know.
curious.
No, I say that as a joke, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I think if you ask anybody, you'd have a different opinion.
Yeah, and the other thing that came up is there's not a name for the street that goes down the hill. Once you get down there all the way down to Teeman Drive, that steep grade that we've got there, there's no name, I don't think, attached for that street necessarily either, so.
Okay.
It was something.
It would just be 1 block long.
Yeah, basically, that would be it.
There's no necessity for that.
Yeah, no necessity. Mhm. Nobody lives there, so. Okay, so we need a motion and a second, right, for this, since it's a resolution?
So
we-
moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Obermark to approve the resolution to change the name of Circle Drive to Aquatic Circle Drive. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approved that resolution.
Mayor's report?
A couple of things. This past weekend would have been the weekend that we would have been hosting the American Bloom Conference, or symposium, and instead they did a symposium in the sky and mentioned Washington a couple of different times in the symposium. They will be coming back here in 2022. We'll be hosting it again. And when the weather was as awful as it was on Saturday, I was real glad they weren't here. So anyway, it was been a cold day to be touring Washington on Saturday. So anyway, but there were some really good sessions, and we're trying to get those together that you can watch them on YouTube or some. They were just real interesting about the program and trends across the country. Also, one of the mayors did make the comment, and we've talked about that before, that that's probably the cheapest consultant you can invite to your community for what you pay for them to come, because they really look at everything, and it's a good consultant just to have them take a look and see where you could make improvements. The second item, I just want to remind everyone to be smart and be safe during these times. It was good to see these last few days, the numbers were in a downward trend. So we just need to be smart about where we go and what we do, and just so we can get those numbers to continue to go down. Now that the kids are back in school, I don't think you know, I'd like, for one, like to see them stay in school. So anyway, it's important for them to be there. So anyway, so just be smart. And that's all I have.
City Administrator's report.
I just echoing a little bit from what was, for those that weren't at the workshop or whatever, Tony with the street department indicated that the leaves would be picked up. First round is scheduled to start November the 9th, and the second round is scheduled to start November the 30th. They go from the east to west, basically, correct? There we go. And then the second item that he had, that I just wanted to mention, Waste Connections is doing their first citywide bulk pickup with us for Big Trash Week. That's the week of October the 19th through the 23rd. It's your usual pickup day. Basically, the same items that we've allowed in the past for bulk items are the same things that are covered in Waste Connections. I think there was a flyer that was sent out. They can also check social media if there's any questions, or just call City Hall, and we'll be happy to answer those. That's all I have. No need for an executive session tonight.
Council comments?
Any comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Pettit, to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.